Hey, I've owned this Tesla Model Y Juniper for about a month now, and I have some thoughts. When I first got this car, it was absolutely perfect in my mind. It looked awesome. The interior update looked awesome, and it had that wonderful new car smell, which, by the way, it still has. But after living with this car for about a month and putting some miles on it, you tend to form some opinions. So if you're in the market for a new Model Y, or you're thinking about getting a new Model Y and you want to see what it's like to actually live with this car, the good, some of the head scratchers, this is the video for you. Stick around. Let's get started with the good. Let's start with the good. What I really found surprising about this car when I got it, and the top of the list for me, you know that I come from a hardware 3 car, is that hardware 4 FSD is just flat out amazing. With hardware 3, I would tout FSD and say, you know, version 12.6, if I got past the slowness, it was great. But it felt like you had to babysit it quite a bit. Hardware 4 FSD version 13 is next level. It is just amazing. It backs up. I can actually turn it on from my garage and hit a button and it'll take me to my destination and I don't have to touch anything. Engagements so far in the last month have been basically 0. It hasn't done anything weird for me where I live, and FSD is just absolutely amazing. My wife's a pretty big critic of FSD and being in the car, and she even realized right away that this car is very, very smooth when it comes to FSD. Now, the next one that surprised me was auto shift, and I actually thought that was going to be a negative because I came from a car that had stocks. Now, I still have the turn signal, and we'll get to that, but I don't have the stock for putting it into drive or reverse, and I thought dealing with the screen was going to be cumbersome. And it was a little bit until I turned on auto shift. And let me tell you, auto shifting has been magical. From it not only predicting whether or not when I get in the car, do I want to go forward or go back, but if I'm backing up out of a parking space and I make a turn and I want to go forward, just the natural movement of turning the wheel makes it shift into drive. And they have these really nice visuals on the screen that give you an indication, and through the sound, through dings, that you actually made it and you're doing what you need to do. I haven't had to shift anything manually for a while, and that's actually super cool. So I was a little skeptical with getting rid of the stock and dealing with the screen, but you turn on auto shift and it's next level good. The next positive for me of this car has to do with just the overall styling of the car, both outside and inside. I love the light bar. I get more comments about the light bar than I do anything else. The rear, I have to admit, I'm still not 100% sold on, but the light, the reflective LED light, that's actually super cool. But when you're driving it, I don't actually see the outside of the car. But what you do see is the interior, and I have to admit, the interior feels a lot more refined. Yet, it still feels like a Model Y. I love the LED accent lighting. I love the different styles of fabrics and textures and stitching. But overall, I think it is definitely a win for the Tesla Model Y with the updated interior. The center console is really nice. I thought it was going to be weird having a door that covered my cup holders. Like, why would you want to do that? Because you're going to be using them all the time. But when you're not using them, I tend to find that I close them. And I like the overall clean looks. The updated interior styling and what they've done with the exterior, it's been a good change. Okay, some of you aren't going to like this one, but on my like list is the turn signal stock. Yes, I like that this car has a turn signal stock. I know some of you like it being on the steering wheel, but for me, the steering wheel moves and it spins and the stock doesn't, and I can actually turn it on and turn it off. It felt flimsy when I first got it, but the more that I used it, the more it feels like it's actually pretty stout, and it only clicks once up and down. In fact, it doesn't even click, but you can do all the things that you normally do as far as holding it down for lane change for a few seconds, and then when you let up, it'll shut off. The software is intelligent enough that it actually treats this stock like you would expect it to, with little or no extra movement or features. So I'm a big stock fan, and I'm going to keep it, and I'm glad I have it, and I actually think that they should add it back to the Model 3, and you guys are going to hate me, at least half of you are. But the stock is definitely on the good list for me. The next good thing I have to mention is the ventilated seats. The ventilated seats, they hold up to the hype. There is one drawback, which we'll get into in the bad section, but the ventilated seats work really, really well in my opinion. When I first got this car, it wasn't that warm, and I'm like, didn't have a need to actually use it. In fact, it was quite cold. But the last week, it's been super hot here, and I'm sitting here in my car, and it's almost 90 degrees outside. And when I drive and I have the cooled seats on, man, does that change the experience of how it feels to coexist in this car. And I haven't taken this on a big road trip yet, but I can only imagine that being in a car for hours and hours and hours and being able to cool the back and your lower extremities with the seats, it's going to be a game changer. It's been high on my list and it doesn't disappoint. The next thing I want to talk about is the exterior styling, but not in the way that you think. This car, I knew when I got it, I wanted to do full PPF, paint protection film, on the car, but I didn't want to go through and pay somebody to do it. I wanted to do it myself. I did the front of my old car and it was tricky. I'll just say it's tricky, that old bumper. And I will tell you that the external styling choices that they made lend this car really, really well to working with do-it-yourself PPF. This is the car to do it on because this is about as easy as it's going to get. Maybe not as easy as a Cybertruck, but it's pretty darn easy. Another feature that made it to my good list, and it has to be the automated powered folding seats in the back. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal, but I just loaded a whole bunch of cardboard and took some cardboard into the recycling just today, and being able to lower the seats and get them back up, because the springs on these seats are actually quite strong in the Legacy Model Ys, but being able to raise them and lower them, and then when you're in the back, being able to electrically change the seat adjustment back and forth, that actually it's a really nice feature. The next thing that I want to talk about that you really can't get a sense of fully until you have driven this car for a while, and especially if you've got a Legacy Model Y like I do right here with my wife's Legacy Model Y, is the interior cabin noise and handling in the Juniper is just next level. It's next level. It is quiet in this cabin when you're driving it. It is smooth in this cabin when you're driving it, and you get used to it very quickly, and you may not be able to tell, but for me, when I go back to driving that car, you can tell. The squeaks, the noises, the bumps, just the general road noise is a lot higher in that car, and that's a 2022, than this 2026 Juniper. So big, big plus in my opinion as far as overall comfort and drive. The last thing I want to talk about on the good side is this, my favorite magnetic phone charger from MagBak. MagBak makes a phone mount and charger designed specifically for your Tesla. It's easy to install and blends perfectly with Tesla's minimalist design. The magnetic mount works with any MagSafe phone, and if your phone isn't MagSafe compatible, they've got you covered with their phone cases, including the new MagBak Elite case, which has an integrated magnet to secure your phone to the charger or stick it to any metal surface. The Elite case takes it up a notch with a new finger loop and kickstand. MagBak cases protect your phone and come in various colors and sizes, and the Elite case offers some cool accent colors too. The phone mount is perfectly located in your Tesla, making it easy to reach, ideal for video calls, and it works with Face ID without distraction from the road. It fits all Teslas, including the updated Model 3, Model Y, and Cybertruck. Links to these products are in the description, and you can use the code IowaTeslaGuy for 15% off your order. Thanks to MagBak for sponsoring this video. All right, no car is perfect, and the new Model Y is not perfect in my opinion. Now, I'm going to cover some of the things that I just don't think were quite on point, but I will admit that a lot of these things are very subjective and probably are very opinionated to who's actually doing it. Some of you are going to look at what I say and say, it's not a big deal for me, and you might have other things on your list that aren't a big deal for me either. But the first one that I have to talk about is right here in front of me, and that's the steering wheel. Now, the steering wheel is actually really nice as far as the button layout and the construction, but they chose to put the stitching on the back of the steering wheel, and when you go to grab the steering wheel, all my fingers feel is that stitching, and it's not comfortable. The old Legacy Model Y put the stitching on the inside. Yes, you could see it, but you couldn't feel it. Now, there is an asterisk next to this bad, because I just got done telling you that how amazing FSD is in this car, and I use FSD as often as I can, and when you're using FSD, your hands are not on the wheel. So when your hands are on the wheel, it's a pain, it's an annoyance for me, but most of the time I'm not, so maybe it's not a big deal. Then the next bad or con that I have is both a pro and a con. I just got done telling you how the interior has been updated and it's got this cool LED accent lighting. But I do find the LED accent lighting a bit distracting when I'm driving. It's just enough out of your direct line of vision that for me it pulls my vision down. So fortunately, you can turn it off. And I have done that from time to time, and especially when driving at night. I'll turn it off just because I find the LED accent lighting distracting. And you can't control the brightness too. So I've played with that a little bit as well, so you can really dial it in or dial it up depending on your needs. But for me, the LED accent lighting is nice, but it's almost a road distraction for me. So that's why I put it in the bad category. Now, the next thing that I'm going to tell you that I don't like is probably a result of the thing that I like the most, and that's the ventilated seats. The seats have perforations in them, which will likely make this car a little more difficult to keep clean, but they aren't as comfortable. My last two Model Ys, the seats were the most comfortable seats I've ever had in my entire life of owning a lot of different vehicles, and I was hoping for the same one with this one, and these seats are just not as comfortable. They are firmer, and even though it doesn't really make that much difference for me and how I'm built, but when my wife got in this car, the very first thing that she noticed is these seats aren't comfortable, and they're hitting her in weird ways, probably due to the ventilated seats. And I posted it on X, and there was a lot of opinions. A lot of you agreed with me, a lot of you didn't, but you said you got to wear it in. Well, I've driven this thing for a month, and they're still pretty much firm. Maybe they'll settle in, but we'll see how it goes. But the other complaint that I have is in the back. The back, you also have perforated seats. They probably made that choice to keep the styling the same from the front to the back. Now, the perforated seats are going to be more difficult to clean, and they're there because of the ventilated seats, but there is no ventilation in the back. So why are they perforated? They shouldn't be perforated, in my opinion. The next negative that I have is something that I covered and hit me as soon as I got the car, and that is the glove box. The glove box is small. It's comically small, and it now lives up to its name because about all you can fit in it now is a pair of gloves. But I used it to store a lot of stuff in my previous car that I just can't use anymore for that purpose, so I got to find other places in the car to store it. But I have to admit, the glove box is tiny, and it's probably the same on the 3 and the new Y. Don't know if it needed to be that small, but it's comically small in my opinion. Now, the last negative that I'm going to say has to do with internal power inside this car. The first one is more of a wish list, is I wish that there was 110 volts in this car. This car should have a 110 volt outlet. If you want to put it in the back next to the center console, fine. There should have been a 110 volt outlet in this car, and there wasn't. The other complaint that I have is a little more practical, and it has to do with the number of USB ports in this car. There is a front center console and a rear center console. In the rear center console, there is one USB-C port. That's it. And in the front center console, there are zero USB ports. There is an accessory outlet or a lighter outlet or 12 volt outlet, whatever you want to call it, even though it's not 12 volts. And it's in the front center console, but there's no USB up there. And to me, they're being stingy. I think that was a miss. Now, there are two USB-C jacks in the back of the seat that you can route accessories to, but for me, I believe that was a miss. Not having 110 volts and really skimping out on the USB in this car is just, it's too much. There's a couple other thoughts on this car that I wouldn't necessarily put in the good or the bad, so we're just going to call this the whatever category. One of the things that they hyped about this car was the new frunk and having a drain, and that's cool, but I don't know that I'll ever use it. But I'm glad it's there. It is a little bit bigger, but my biggest concern of the whatever, and maybe a miss, maybe it should have been in the bad, is that it doesn't have a powered frunk. Now, you can fix that with aftermarket accessories, and I may just do that because my wife's Model Y has a powered frunk that we added, and it's really, really nice. But it seems like in 2025, they should have had a powered frunk on this particular car, and they don't, and I think that's a miss. The next one that fits in the whatever category is going to be very situational for you and how you use it, and for me, it's the rear screen. The rear screen is really nice. I love that it's OEM. I've done a lot of installs on my last Model Y of doing aftermarket screens, and the aftermarket screens that go in the back just never quite cut it. The fact that you have one that's OEM, it can talk to the main screen, you can do all the things and pair Bluetooth is really nice, but it's only there and only beneficial if you have people in the back that use it, and I rarely do have people in the back. So for me, the rear screen is really nice, but it's not really a high point for me. And for you, it might be a high point, but for me, it fits in the whatever category. So there you have it, my review of the Tesla Model Y Juniper after 1 month. Would I go back and do it all over again? 100% absolutely. This is an amazing car. After owning a Tesla Model Y, actually 3 of them now for 5 years, the Model Y has definitely grown up. The fit, the finish, the quality are all top notch. Some of the things that you had to kind of look past because you love the technology, you don't have to look past any further. There are a couple of things that I still have to question, but they're more just design choices that they made that I don't necessarily agree with. But they're not game changers. This is an amazing car, and if you want to pick up one of your own, I would highly recommend it, and make sure you start that process by using a referral link. If you want to use mine, that's great. You can start at iowateslaguy.com. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd appreciate you tapping that like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscriptions are always welcome. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.